And here are your hosts, Marx and Julie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to GenreTainment. This is your co-host, Marx, joined as always with
co-host Julie. GenreTainment is where we talk about what's happening in the world of books, film, TV, and tabletop role-playing games. We give you interviews with writers, game designers, directors, producers, and actors in both independent and not-so-independent creations.
And on this episode, we have a fun interview with the editing team of the Fairy Tales, Folklore, and Fables Reimagined Volume 1 and 2.
Now, that team includes Marx and our guests today, J.C. Mastro, Victoria L. Scott, and Anne C. Lynch. If you enjoy our episodes, please consider subscribing or following us. And we have our Patreon if you would like some bonus content as well. The link to that is in the show description. Now, let's introduce our guests. Hi, John, Victoria, and Anne.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. So let's introduce people to you guys first. Let's just say, like, for each of you, how did you get started writing? Because you're not just editors, you're writers too. You wrote some of these stories too, if not from this collection, the other collections. Let's start with Victoria first.
Oh, of course it's me first. I have no idea.
Suck it up.
I started studying Latin because I heard it would make you a better writer, and somehow ended up actually getting a degree in creative writing, where I met you and John and Anne. And all I do as my job as a middle school teacher is I teach Latin. I also teach history, and I also edit student papers like a crazy woman. So for me, editing is big fun. I have stamps and, you're killing me smalls and this kind of stuff. And I just like to see how the stories end. So I guess that's the best I got. There wasn't a whole lot of thought other than that, honestly.
How about we go down to Anne?
Let's see. I got started writing, I suppose, like every other girl when they're 12 or 13, poetry, right?
Yeah.
But I'd always loved reading. I was that kid. I was the kid who spent all of their time reading. And if you asked me what I wanted to have for my birthday or Christmas, it was books and vivid imagination. Fast forward, I began teaching. I actually studied film at USC for all of a semester. I had previously studied a couple of years at University of Texas, and then just realized it's like, as much as I love story, that was not my medium. So I shifted over into teaching English, and I taught English for a very long time. This is the first year that I haven't taught. My mom has dementia, and so it's kind of made some changes in life. But my oldest friend actually suckered me into, she said, hey, there's a Romance Writers Association conference in New Orleans, my favorite place in the whole world.
Love
Wouldn't
New
it be fun if we went together? And I was like, ooh. It was like, come on, it'll be fun. And so I went. And I won like a stupid little contest. And the stupid little contest was for a new line that Harlequin was starting to put out. And I had a manuscript that I pulled out of my ass in a matter of like 3 months and sent it to them. And it basically got to the larger editorial meeting and was tabled, but it kind of, the bug kind of hit at that point. And so lots of writing after that. And then Seton Hill to do the master's degree and met all of y'all. And yeah, and like Victoria, I also have spent many years. I work with older kids for the most part. She works middle school to high school. I worked more high school. And so, yeah, writing and editing, student writing has been a big deal for me for a long time. This is a lot more fun, by the way, doing the anthologies, a lot more fun.
Well, good. And John?
I've always been a genre fan of all types, movies, TV, books, comics, all of that growing up and even into adulthood and now. And I always thought, I would love to have a part in this stuff somehow, creating this, and it never really went anywhere, just besides being a fan and doing some college classes in cinema and TV and radio and all these things. And then I ended up with a family and kids and stay-at-home dad. At that time, I started picking up audiobooks a lot just to pass the time. And that really was inspiring me then to start reading some of these books to my kids. Started with the little stuff, the young stuff, and some classics. And then as they got older, we went to Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and all that. And they loved that stuff. And it just was like, man, I would love to come up with stuff like this and bring that joy to other kids, or adults or whoever. And so when they got a little bit older and were off to school and I had a lot more free time on my hands, I'm like, how can I, start making this a thing? And that's when I decided I'm going to go back to college, get my degree in creative writing and just try this thing. And, that led to the bachelor's and that led to Seton Hill and the writing popular fiction, that was the catalyst, I think, that really kicked it off and, learned some techniques, made it happen and met some awesome people and all kinds of inspiration. And, here we are. I've published a book and it's won awards and it's a audio book now too. And yeah, so, and I've been part of the anthologies and all that good stuff. So it's been a journey and it's been fulfilling for my, geekiness and and I hope for some kid or adults or somebody out there.
Yeah.
And for audio, people can't see your cap on. It says your book's name, Academy Bound.
That's right. Yeah. I got merch.
It's a great story.
It is.
It's a great story. I recommended it to my students and they enjoyed it. So
thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I was recently able to donate a bunch of books to a local school library.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, a friend of mine who was substituting there in the library hooked it all up and for Read Across America Week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I got pictures back of the kids all holding the books and excited to get them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it made my year there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Felt good.
what do you all enjoy about editing? I mean, if you're like me, like I can't read, Marx hands me something to read. I can't read it without going into editing mode. But I don't know if it's the same for everybody else, but what do you enjoy about editing?
Wow. Yeah, I'm not sure mere mortals actually go into editing mode, but there are some of us who do, and it's absolutely impossible to get around. I think actually one of the best things about going through the master's program was reading intentionally for feedback, and then suddenly realizing that you were through 20 pages and you'd written nothing because the story had captured you and you forgot that you were editing. And that is like gold. It is so cool when that happens, when you stop and you're like, oh shit, I haven't written anything, but this, never mind, I'll go back and do that later. I'm going to finish the pages because I want to know what happens next. Actually, that was, I don't know about y'all, but it was one of the more irritating things about being in the summer intensives was that you weren't always with the same person. So you didn't get to see where it went after that. And you had to like stalk people and be like, can you please send me the rest of those pages? Because I need to know what happened. So, I mean, for me, editing is really, it's cool and it's all about the story, and writing at its best turns your editor off.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Did y'all find that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that with Marx's a few times. I start out editing and then I just kind of start reading it and I'm like, oh shoot.
That's what
That's not, oh shoot. That's, great.
And it can be a slog when it goes the other way. That's for sure.
Oh, baby.
I like seeing the problems, trying to figure out what the problem is, and then making suggestions as to how the problem can be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Because my students don't write fiction for me because I teach social studies. They don't write stories for me. They regurgitate information they've done research on so they know how to write research papers when they get to high school. So I'm dealing with people saying stuff that, they don't have parallel structure, or they're using passive voice all over the place, or their word
Yeah.
would appears on the page 15 times. I count them and list them at the bottom. I also have a stamp that says no would, could in this sort of paper. But it's also fun when they make mistakes, historical mistakes, like the Parthenon was blown up with dynamite in 480 BC.
I did not know that.
Yes, well, I explained to the child that couldn't be possible. He said, but they destroyed it. I said, there are many ways to destroy things that don't involve dynamite, particularly since it's not invented till like 1863. He said, no, it was dynamite. And I teach Roman history. I said, what would happen if the Romans had access to dynamite? And his eyes got real big. And he says, you're right, it can't be dynamite. So for me, it's
Man, you did something right. Yeah.
the puzzle of what is the grammar situation here, or appreciating when it just flows really nicely into being able to say lovely transition or whatever. But then also finding the stuff that just factually or for whatever reason cannot happen. And I really enjoy going, and then going down the rabbit hole to figure out what the problem is and coming back up and going, no. So that's what I like.
Couple of things I like. Yeah. I'm kind of an idea person, and when it's pretty good, and sometimes when it's not even, I get these ideas flowing of, oh, how could this story go better? What could they do here? And I know it's pissed people off before because they didn't really want, ideas to make it better. But, it's fun to kind of mentally dig into their world that they're trying to create and visualize it and share those thoughts. And I don't know, I seem to have a knack for continuity and realism, so if they say that, such and such happened at one point and then they don't ever, I catch those things and point them out and fix them, or that just would not happen. No, that, and back it up with facts and stuff.
The world that way.
No, that, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but
I can. A high school football player putting a dent in the foot of a Buick with his fist.
Yeah.
I asked my dad about that. Dad's an engineer. He says, have the author try it and make sure they have 911 on speed dial.
Right.
Yeah.
Have someone ready to take you to the ER.
Yeah.
Unless they're Superman.
Right.
Yeah. My father's like, I've driven Buick. That's not going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay.
I think it's all that. Those are the little detail things I like. But overall, I'd like to just see it start rough and then come together. And I don't know, just kind of feels good to be a part of that process, I think.
Now, all of you, besides editing, because you've worked on editing for all the books in the genre collection, but you've also written stories. Victoria, you wrote 2 stories in this collection, and John and Anne, you've written stories in past collections. So why don't we talk a little bit about that experience, some of the stories you've written before, tell everybody a little bit about them, a little bit in that experience.
Yeah, for me, it was really kind of cool. I wrote a story about the Nucalavi, and I got to do this deep dive. Okay, I write as my bailiwick is kind of historical fiction, which basically means that I really love to geek out on research and find the rabbit hole and then go dive. And it's fascinating for me just personally. Doing the story was really, really awesome for me because I got to do a deep dive on a very specific location, a very small island way out away from Scotland, and then was able to, which of course, thank you, Google Maps, where somebody actually took like 2 ferries to get out there and then map the entire island, which it was really cool and helpful because I just didn't have the time and or finances to be able to go and make that trip. And it also gave me the opportunity because I tend to, like I said, I write historical fiction, and it tends to be more like, I don't know, women's fiction, whatever. And
you said Harlequin before, right? So
I did. So there were always romantic elements to it. But my true love, if you sit me down and like put a bunch of books in front of me, I will pick a horror book every single time. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay. This is my opportunity. And to be able to kind of immerse myself in that and be able to walk through it, which was kind of creepy. It's creepy to read someone else's version of a horror story, but the actual putting yourself into that first person narrative of the primary character was creepy. I had nightmares while I was writing that short story because I was like, this is like creepy. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun to be able to kind of break out of what my typical was, but kind of tangentially bring in a lot of the skill set that I already had. And that was a lot of fun. I won't lie. It was a lot of fun. And the people, okay, so my students were often the people who were like, oh, you're writing the story in this particular like anthology? You didn't do that in the last one. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I had the time and I could actually do it this time. They're like, I can't wait to read it. And like, they would come in after having purchased the book and be like, Miss Lynch, you okay? It's like, I'm fine. Did you like it? That was creepy. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm not sure, but I don't think it was what they expected from me. And I don't think it was anything that I expected from myself. As a writer, that is such a gift to be able to step outside of your usual, to be able to push those boundaries and really work towards how story really comes together. And it doesn't matter what the story is, a story comes together the same way. So it was a thought experiment, and it's also kind of tipped off a new book idea that I have been pursuing in fits and spurts. So
do it. Awesome.
So just let everybody know what's the name of the story and what anthology is it in if they want to find it.
It was in the second anthology. Come on, guys, help me.
Tales of Monstrosity is the name of the anthology.
Tales of Monstrosity.
And get the book.
How do you pronounce it? Gorvelia?
Oh, Gorvelia. Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. It's called Gorvelia, and it's the autumnal equinox. It's all derived from the very deep Scottish / Danish roots of mythology that comes across as the Danes came across, the Vikings making their path from their homeland to take everyone else's.
Cool.
yeah, it's really cool.
So John, why don't you share the experience writing your stories? Because you wrote one in Dragon's a Different Tale and Tales of Monstrosity.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
thank you. It turned out to be a lot of fun. When Marx first pitched Dragons, I was like, oh yeah, I got to be a part of that for sure, with no idea in mind whatsoever. And then it took me a minute to come up with a story idea, and I really don't know what the inspiration came from. I came up with some, I guess you'd call it an urban fantasy sort of thing, with a heavy metal band that is totally into dragons, and they encounter a what do you call him? I guess you could call him a wizard, but
druid or something.
A druidy, wizardy druid guy. Yeah, he's very mysterious, and shenanigans occur, let me say. But I ended up enjoying that quite a bit. I had a lot of fun with it. I got to at least attempt to be funny, and
I think you succeeded.
Well, thank you. Victoria helped with some awesome Latin translation of some lyrics for the band's hit song I put in the story. And
we brought to life on YouTube.
That's right. So I know we gotta. Yeah,
remember to put a link in there if I don't forget.
It. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And then when Tales of Monstrosity came up, I mean, I was in, of course, and part of the thing. And and a little bit of brainstorming. Okay, we're doing monsters this time, but they need to be a little bit obscure, a little different. What are we doing? And it took a minute there. And then I ended up with, I'm going to write a story in the same universe with the same antagonist. And I don't know, I was just inspired by a theme park where his magical...
Nobody knows.
Yes, nobody knows who this magic land, yeah.
Here they have rodent problem.
Yeah, rodent problem. They've got a pirate and, some aliens and droid-like things and dinosaurs and all kinds of...
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln. Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. But this guy's magic makes all the animatronics come to life in the park, and there's a lonely employee who ends up caught in the middle of all this. And I really got to have fun with that character again, that antagonist. He's Druid guy in that one. He's the boatman in Dragons. Yeah, I got to really have fun with that and really play around with this theme park that I know pretty well, and a lot of people do. So it was good times, and it also kind of like, okay, I'm gonna keep this world going, and I've got a bigger idea for the whole thing that I would like to have it lead into. Unfortunately, I didn't get a story in for Fairy Tales, Folklore, and Fables, just health stuff, but that idea is still there, and it might come to life at some point. So, yeah.
Cool. And Victoria, why don't you talk about your new stories that are in these anthologies?
In the Enchanted Tales, I've got a really short story called Reprieve about a guy who thinks that he's discovered a way to get eternal life. And it's not really a surprise that he's wrong. And then in the other one, I have a possible solution to what happened to the folks who started the colony in Roanoke in 1587.
Ooh,
It involves Dr. D and Prague and magic and angels and stuff.
Yeah, it started and ended in very different settings.
Yes. I still think I should have kept at least one vomit, but I trust you.
Thank you. I was like, no spewing. Nobody needs this.
I enjoyed it, but
I know.
You got to kill your darlings, right? And on the other two books, one of them was dragons who end up in Northumbria in 793 AD, thinking that they can't be seen and that, they're going to really impress the guy who's the headmaster of their school. And they're wrong on both counts. And then the other one is the descendant of the headless horseman trying online dating.
That was so fun.
Well, yeah. And, and I was sort of disappointed because we sort of have a poll as to what the theme should be for these crossing genres anthologies. And I was disappointed that whatever we picked was not what I had hoped it would be. And so I'm sitting there going, what the hell am I going to do with that? And the line, Washington Irving was a son of a bitch, popped into my head, and then it was off to the races. So
it is funny how sometimes it's just something that pops into your head and the rest of it comes after,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How many of you, if these anthologies hadn't come up, do you think you would have wrote these specific kind of stories? Do you think?
Zero. Zero.
The Reprieve was already written. It just happened to fit. But the other ones, no. Not at all.
What are some standout stories for you that you edited or read from these new anthologies? I don't know who wants to go first.
Make Victoria go first.
Victoria!
Just because it was really odd, Peach Samurai from the one that I edited. With the samurai that's sort of fighting some sort of evil force that comes out of a peach pit.
Yeah,
that one was fun. It was completely unexpected. Yeah.
And it was very atmospheric. It was very atmospheric. At least that's what, And then from the other one, Paul Goat Alden's The Tao of Feeblecorn was also bizarre. And
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it was bad,
No.
but it was just never having actually read his writing other than book reviews. The
Mhm.
fact that he could sort of go to that Zen-like place
Yeah.
was interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know what? We never talked about that, but that's true. That is an interesting aspect I will now have to ponder.
What about you, John? Anything standouts for you?
Yeah, I think a couple. I only focused on the first volume, and a couple in there I think that I really enjoyed. I mean, the first one, Cat Dow's story, the Dave Miller's Flip Flops of Destiny.
Uh-huh.
I just found that very unique and has a dry humor to it that, and I'm not even really a baseball fan, but I got it,
Mhm.
That was a lot of fun. And what was that other one? Oh, that was Demi Michelle's Dabria's Shadows. Something about the way she wrote it, just her writing and her phrasing and stuff. I thought it was really good and kind of a neat concept. I guess it was a Grimm's fairy tale I'd never even heard of. So that was neat. And that's the fun thing about these. You learn stuff you never even knew about. So
Yeah.
I'd say those two stand out to me.
Edutainment.
Yep. Edutainment.
I've
sorry, go ahead.
submitted a story to her butterfly anthology.
Oh, good.
Ah,
I
That's
don't know that she'll pick it, but
I was on her podcast, Demi's podcast, recently. Well, recorded one. It's not out yet. She was
Nice.
talking about the anthology. So good luck.
I tried to talk her into writing a song, but I don't know if she ever got to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, she writes songs. So, yeah.
Yeah, she's a musician. I think she's won some awards too. So I
Yeah.
like, write a song about your story. Yeah, I don't know if she ever got to it, but
But she made a recipe. That's one of our bonus contents.
all right.
She made a recipe for it. It's kind of cool. She even made a video of her cooking the recipe. So it was all out.
Cool.
It was cool to see some lesser known stories like from Grimm Fairy Tales, like Deborah's Shadow, and then like Peach Samurai. I think that's I think he goes by Peach Boy, that main character. It's from Japanese lore. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what was some of your favorites?
Victoria kind of touched on both of the ones that I thought were the most interesting. It was fascinating to see what one of our mentors actually produced as a writer, as opposed to just having been an editor. So that was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that consistently amazes me in all of the anthologies is that incredible creativity that people bring to these. It's like, okay, good on you, Marx, because honestly, the idea of having people come in and bring a new twist to really, really familiar stuff, it really unlocked a lot of creativity, because it requires a lot of thought to say, oh, okay, here's something that I've heard a million times and everybody else has heard a million times. What are we going to do to make it something new? And there's just been some stuff in all of the series, all of these anthologies that have been just really, really remarkable. So I'm not being particularly specific, other than I think that everyone who I know who has read them has come back with the same comment, which is, I just totally didn't know what to expect. And then I read it and it was nothing that I expected. And it was awesome. It fits. It makes a difference. It takes you in a different direction with the same story. And that's okay. Wow. Okay. English teacher moment. It's really fascinating to look at stuff like, how do we modernize? How do we make and kind of reclaim really old sorts of stories like mythologies and things of the like? How do people modernize those? What do we do to make them more in keeping with the world that we live in? What are the different ways that we push that envelope forward while not losing the original intent, but making it relevant to us today? And I think all of the series has done an excellent job of doing that. There's not really a story in any of them that doesn't really take a modern sensibility and put it to bear on really familiar and also really culturally foundational material.
The story where Peter Pan is basically found out to be a psychopath. And I don't remember which book that's
Michael
in.
Troby's story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't he really? I mean,
Yeah, but you know, when you read him, when you're
girl who
reading
grew
Peter
up.
Pan,
Yeah.
it doesn't occur to you. Although I was reading it when I was 10 and had to ask my grandmother what an orgy was. She said, there isn't an orgy in that book. I said, yes, there is. Look. And it was the fairies going off to have an orgy. And she was like, it's a party. It's like,
It's a party.
Yeah.
Party with friends?
Yeah. So
very close friends.
That's right.
Very, very close friends.
Having had to tell a
You got
child
an upside down pineapple.
Yeah. having had to explain to a 6th grader that it wasn't just a party, because he said we should advertise having an orgy, you know, for studying Latin, you know, like have a party, have an orgy. I was like, oh, honey, what do you think it means? Well, they have a party, but there's food. I'm like, oh,
we
honey,
must have a conversation now.
That is not the main focus of the activities. And a little kid from the back raised her hand and said, can we talk about something else? So
smart.
You're like, yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we
As a
can.
matter of fact, we can talk about something completely different now.
Yep. But no, that take on Peter Pan, I thought was it was chilling, because she had it hit it on the head, on the absolute money.
Yeah, and I think also that becomes an interesting look, because that story of Peter Pan has been retold in different media, right? We see it in animation, we see it in live action, we see it in modern context. So it layers out and changes the original story an enormous amount, because you're being led to certain aspects. And people are obviously having to create environments that allow them to have the kind of ratings in the rating systems that they want to be able to make the best money out of their films. So we then add that into it, and having her bring it back to that becomes even more jarring, right? Having the story being brought back to that. It's like, oh, an orgy. Oh, he's really kind of creepy, and wow, keep small children, actually keep everyone away from him. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, that particular example is really cool, because it really does talk about how story just evolves over time, more and more and more. And every time we revisit it, it retrenches in a different direction.
Usually we ask people to share a tip. So for writers, in this case, writers or editors. So you can throw in a tip that's for writers or for editors, whichever one pops to mind. Who would like to begin?
Well, as an editor pet peeve, indent the damn paragraphs.
Formatting
matters. God damn
it.
Yeah.
Learn it. Use it.
Yes, I tell my students the tab key was created on the 8th day by God specifically for me and my class, and that they need to use the tab key as God intended.
Okay, and how about M-N dashes versus just simply dashes? Never mind.
It doesn't bug me as much as no indents, but pay attention to the guidelines. If it says you got to do X, Y, and Z to submit the story, do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Because if it says if you don't do these things, we're going to put it in the, file 13 or whatever, we pretty much mean it, because we don't have time to go, oh, well, it's such a great story, even though they didn't follow any of the directions. Yeah, no.
Right.
Nobody got time for that.
As a writer, I think kind of tipping back to what you were saying, John, is that you have different sorts of editors who will approach your work. And every type of editor will bring something new to your creative process, and that you have to be vulnerable and open to the idea that the best version of your story may not be the one that you have polished and worked on and polished and worked on it. To get it to a level, you have to have an outside eye look at your work, because outside eyes are the only people are going to, those are the only people who are going to read your work ultimately if it is published. So you have to have an outside eye looking and helping direct you, so that whenever a reader who has purchased it looks at it, they will have had someone, the editor, who has kind of smoothed the path for them as the reader, have made it better and more accessible, and not something that as writers, as authors, we have these ideas in our head and we know what we're talking about and we think it all works, but you really do have to have outside parties who are interested in the quality of what you are producing for an audience, as opposed to your audience of one where it's your baby. I mean, one of the things that I always taught, I also have taught creative writing seminars over the years. And one of the things that I always tell people is that I understand that this piece of work is like a baby that you have nurtured in your womb for months and months and months. But whenever you have given birth to it, it is no longer yours. It has to exist and stand on its own. You will have to help it, and other people will help you help it, but it is not strictly yours. So while it's yours, you don't have an editor. But when it finally is produced in its entirety, it has to be able to stand on its own, and it takes other people to help you with that. It takes a village to raise a book, right?
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you should write that as a craft book. That's a total craft book in the making right there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Book in the making. I wonder what we might do next.
Don't take the feedback you get from editors personally either.
Oh, God.
No,
yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was some of it I took a little personally. It's like, God, do you have to be an asshole about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on how it's presented.
Yeah.
I've seen some criticism that is pretty assholey.
Mm-hmm.
I know, right? And I mean, I don't know if it's like, having been raised in the South, that, it's like you have to couch your words very delicately so that people don't know that you're slicing their head off with your words until they try and turn and look at something else.
What's that? Like, God bless your little heart or whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Bless your heart,
You
yeah.
say that. It means lots of different things. Sometimes it really does mean bless your heart.
Absolutely, 100%.
How about the delivery?
I've said it always.
But I have said bless your heart to many a person, meaning fuck you.
Oh, yes, exactly. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You need to go home, go take a nap, start the day over, and then get back to me. Yeah, but I mean, like you said, you have to be able to be willing to open yourself up to what an editor brings to it. And that's that outside eye and that additional experience and that understanding of market and all of that good stuff. And that sucks. I mean, it sucks to have somebody like critique your work and tell you that it sucks. I had a full semester with a mentor that, wow, we could not have been a worse match for one another. And it was like, it set me back. It set me back for a good while. So I did not take on that idea of you have to just let it be what it is and other people's opinions are what they are. And there is that balancing point between feedback and you get to choose what of the feedback actually resonates the most with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Because some people are just wrong or they don't get it, They have.
Yeah. Well, like when Marx and I wrote our the Western for the Dragons, we had somebody give feedback. Thank you. Where they wanted to have these cowboys from the 1800s, uneducated cowboys talking like Rhodes Scholars, and I'm like, that's not how they would talk.
And of course, I'm now sitting here thinking, was I one of the people who did that? Was that me? Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was someone
Probably critique groups, most likely, we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Not these people here.
Sure, that's it.
and,
Sure,
and
yeah.
then there was one, I had someone say something through gritted teeth, and this one guy just went on a huge tangent about you can't talk through gritted teeth and this and that. And I'm like, I do it all the time. Here, listen.
Watch me, I'm doing it
Right?
right now.
I'm doing it
Dude.
right now. My husband
Yeah.
knows if I'm talking through gritted teeth, it's bad.
It's like they did
Yeah,
have
it's a good
parents.
sign.
How many times have your mother talked to you in a grocery store when you were acting like a little shit, when she was just like, you need to stop that right now?
Exactly. With
Gritted.
yeah.
But
If
that's
you'd said that the character grimaced, then we would know who had the rant. Gritted teeth, I don't think sets Timmons off
Yeah.
nearly as much.
Yeah, not nearly as troublesome.
Before we go, can you tell everyone where to find you and your work online?
You can find, of course, the anthologies and my novel, Academy Bound. It's young adult science fiction, and you can find that on Amazon. And it's in Kindle Unlimited now. So if you happen to have that, you can read it for free. And
I
it's
did not know
also,
that.
yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you. Yes. It's also on Audible, narrated by a really great narrator and professional actor, Fred Berman. And I think he did a great job. And I just found out today that if you have Prime and Amazon Music, you can listen to it for free on there.
Yeah, that's new.
nice.
Yeah, that's a new thing. I don't know if I get any money for that, but hey, I'd rather you listen to it than, make 50 cents. So, but yeah,
I want my work to actually be explored by humans. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather somebody enjoy it in whatever, pathway they find it. But yeah. And I haven't really done much on the internet lately, but I am on the socials at JC Mastro Author. So look me up if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing for me is looking up any of the anthologies, and I'm in those either as an editor or writer or both.
Yeah, and if you go to cabbitcrossing.com, click on books, you'll see them all there. So
Boom.
All right.
And I'm just antisocial, so can't find me anywhere.
well, you can see Victoria on the Cabbit Cross YouTube channel.
Well, that's true. Yes, I forgot about that.
Basement.
Yes. Notes from the underground. I'm currently researching now. For those of you who love weird Russian fiction.
But if you like tabletop role-playing games, you can see Julie. You can see Julie too, but you can see Victoria.
You can see me too.
Yes, and Marx.
On some of the genre play episodes where we play different games. So, yes.
Oh, fun.
Victoria
Cool.
and Julie have been cats at one point, and
Mhm.
all kinds of other
Yes.
things. Military soldiers, cats, and who knows what else coming next.
People
I've been a
incapable of knocking
gunslinger.
Doors down.
Ah,
Gunslinger.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
want to be a gunslinger. Why do you sling guns? I don't understand that, especially as a phrase. Just saying.
Yeah, sling it.
I guess because
Just don't
whip
fling
them
it.
out.
That's
Yeah,
not
fling.
good.
I don't
Yeah,
get playing that essential first letter. Right. Okay. Both fricatives, though, strangely.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. The two new anthologies, Enchant Tales and Twisted Lore and Once Upon a Twisted Time, are out currently at all major bookstores. You can go find it and see this awesome work, stories, and editing jobs by
Yes.
you all. So,
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you're looking for your next fun read, then check out Fairy Tales, Folklore, and Fables Reimagined, both volumes 1 and 2 from Cabbit Crossing Publishing. And please let us know if you enjoyed this episode and what other guests you might like us to have in the future.
I think that's a wrap for today's episode. So, until
Till next time.
Bad monkey.
I'm going to do 3, 2, 1. I want you all to say until next time.
Oh,
It
you
probably will come
froze.
out garbled, but let's
At least it happened now.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So 3, 2, 1. Until next time.
Until next time.
next time.
Until next time.
Adios.
Okay. Were we all supposed to do it?
Yeah, all
Yes.
at the same time.
Oh,
Okay.
I missed.
I'll
He
try again.
froze and I didn't.
You're glitching, so
Okay,
I guess I could probably sync them up to be the same. We'll see.
that's
3, 2, 1. Until
Until
next time.
It's really tough to do.
I'll see you next time.
Yeah, Marx, it was hilarious because you go, okay, let's do this. And then you froze.
I was like,
Right.
okay.